My voice is just so low today. Can you hear this?
I can't. It's as low as I've ever heard it, I think.
So I got sick from the fires that blew through New York. So the first round set off my asthma, which gave me sinus infection, which turned into bronchitis or laryngitis. We're still not sure which turned into walking pneumonia. We're pretty sure, but it's a viral. So like I can't take drugs for it. So I'm still suffering with all of this. And I am just so swollen, and we're going to see how long my voice lasts today.
So basically you're doing great. Is that what you're
I'm
telling
doing so well, and I am at the pinnacle of health.
Hey everyone, my name is Ellen.
And my name's Alyssa, and welcome to the Modern Singer podcast. I have been drinking so much orange juice. So much orange juice to try to get over all of this.
It's in a jar.
Nonsense. Yeah, so I got these I got these glass jars from Amazon, I think like a year and a half ago, because I was trying to be like cute and I got influenced by TikTok. But
cute.
It's actually been really helpful. So I buy like a giant jug of orange juice when I go to Trader Joe's every week. And then I've just been putting them in all of my little glass jars because I have like 12 of them. And then it's been such a lifesaver when I go to dance classes and like yoga classes and stuff to just like have something after class that isn't junk food so that I can spike my blood sugar so that I can make it home safely and then eat a bunch of food.
You know, the small things.
Oh yeah, just not passing out on the train. It is what it is. Again,
It's cute though. I like them.
Thank you.
It's a pinnacle of health. It's good for the environment. It's cost friendly. You buy a big jug and pour them into those.
Yeah, and then they're in these little 8-ounce. They're in these little 8-ounce glass jars that I love, and they're so cute and adorable. And then I'm actually drinking all of the juice that I buy instead of letting it just sit in my fridge because ADHD. If I can't see it, it doesn't exist anymore.
100%.
And if it's in a jug, I don't want it because that's icky.
Right, and it's too much. And it's
way
too much.
much.
To think about. Yeah.
How are you?
Doing great. I have beginning stages of tinnitus, we think, in my elbows, and so I have to wear these.
That's not tinnitus.
Cute.
That's tendinitis. Tinnitus is in your ears, babe.
Oh, tendinitis. Let's start that again.
She's holding up her arms for like these elbows bands, saying she has tinnitus like Beethoven. Oh my god.
Doing great. I have tendinitis. Thank you. I do know the difference. Sometimes in my bogans, in my elbows, so I have to wear these super cute, not cute little band things on my arms while I'm working and stuff. But they do help.
Well, it's probably because you spend so much time typing.
Yes,
it's super common for people who type.
On my phone, on my computer, it's fine. I did get a massage like a while ago now, like a month ago, and she focused on my elbow and like on my like forearm. Holy shit.
Yeah.
It was the most beautiful and painful thing in the entire world. But yeah, I don't know. How are you doing other than all your ailments and your cute jars?
I mean, I'm okay. Physically, I'm so much better. Vocally, I'm still not great, but I'm glad that it's still the beginning of July, so we're not in like hectic audition season just yet, so I'm fine. Mm-hmm. I can sing all my mezzo roles right now, which is stellar.
Hell yeah.
But I've been working on dance. I've been going 2 or 3 times a week, which is a lot for me.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Especially when I went from going once a week to once a week.
Once a week. Out here with the jokes today.
Oh my god. But so 2 or 3 times is a lot. So I'm trying to take care of myself. I'm using shoes that have a lot of ankle support. Nice. And I'm starting to feel like really good. Like I could walk into an audition room right now and not suck, which feels good.
You sound a lot better than you did. What was that, last week?
Yeah, it was last week that we had our meeting. And it was just like my voice was like in and out and in and out and in and out. And I couldn't control my volume. It was wild. It was wild. 10 out of 10,
never heard your voice like that.
Do not recommend.
No.
Yeah, but I haven't had a week for going on 4 weeks now. Nope, I haven't had a voice for going on for 4 weeks now, which is annoying as hell.
It's a long time.
But here we are.
But you have one now. It's coming back.
Kind of.
She's healing.
She is. So what are we talking about today?
We are starting our rep series, which is really exciting. We're going to go over Rep, exactly what it sounds like.
It's
We're going to go over
so
rep.
much. We broke it down into, oh gosh, I think it's 4 or 5 different categories.
Yeah, let me see. 1, 2,
It might
3,
be 6.
4, 5. It's 5.
It's 5.
Yep, 5.
So school is quickly approaching for both students and teachers, and before you know it, it's going to be audition season. We are so excited to start our rep series, and we had to start it with the standards, obviously. Today we have 7 different standard operas that many opera houses perform again and again. A lot of them are performed every single season because they are standards. Audiences know them, and we tried to cover as many voice types as we could. So let's get started.
So the first one we're going to talk about today is Così fan tutte. The original language is in Italian. It's by Mozart. Così fan tutte translates into they all act like that, or like in other words, all women deceive men.
We love how forward thinking it is. It's just so forward thinking.
Yeah, you know, this is like not one that opera companies can do and then like modernize it.
I actually did a modernized version of it. I did it. It was weird. We had to cut a lot.
Arizona Opera did this. Was that last season? And they like updated it. Like, it was really, really cool. Like, as the show went on, like the costumes grew, like, you know, some of the characters kind of grow in the opera a little bit. But that was really cool. But like, I just don't know how you could do this opera without like making the women look stupid. And I don't know. It's very much ingrained into what the opera is about.
The way that we did it, that we modernized it, so I did this, we did it virtually back in, I think it was 2021, with Next Gen, and it was super cool. We made it so that people were like texting each other, and we didn't make people look stupid, but we definitely made them look really vapid.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Like, very vapid, very surface level wants and needs, with some like deeper dives, but not like a lot. There were a lot of cuts.
Yeah, there would have to be. So if you don't really know what this opera is about, I'm going to do my best to summarize because, as we all know, Mozart operas have a lot going on in them. So
usually at least 3 plot lines, if not more.
At the very least. This one's a little bit more like cohesive with just like a lot of random shit going on in between. But anyway, there's these 2 guys and they are engaged to these 2 girls, and they're talking to Don Alfonso and saying, hey, women are not faithful, and they disagree on that. And so there's a bet, hey, I'll prove it to you. Don Alfonso says, like, I'll prove it to you. Your women will be not faithful by the end of the night. And they're like, okay, whatever, let's do it.
I just want to say that this entire plot line revolves around the fact of entrapment.
It is.
Like, it's just entrapment.
Exactly. So they lie to the women and say, oh, we're going off to war. And obviously the women are like super sad and whatever. But they're not. And they come back as foreign suitors, switch who they want to pursue. So they're pursuing each other's fiance. That one woman is like not about it. She's like, nah, I'm not doing it. Fiordiligi is like, I'm loyal to my boo, and Dorabella is like, I don't know, whatever.
He's cute.
Yeah, exactly. Like, maybe I'll dip into it. Then they're supposed to marry the suitors. You know, a lot happens again in between. They're supposed to marry the suitors, and it's like, oh, JK, like, the men are back. Like, what are you doing? You're, like, marrying some other dudes. Like, what's happening? And then they're like, oh, ha, 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 JK, this is all a joke, and everything's fine. Was that a good summary? I mean, what do you think?
Mozart plots are very confusing.
Right? I know. If you're confused, I'm equally as confused. Go watch a summary video. But that's basically what happens. There are 3 arias that we picked to highlight. Not necessarily the most popular arias, but we wanted to cover a lot of different
You did
voice
too
types.
Pick the most popular arias.
Some of them I did. Some of them I did. Some of them I didn't. The first aria is Magne, is sung by Dorabella. She's a mezzo-soprano. This is the beginning of the show. Dorabella is sad that her fiance has, quote unquote, just gone off to war. As we know, that's all lies. And she becomes completely hysterical. They are kind of making fun of it. It's a kind of a mock heroic aria because it's very heroic in the way she's singing it and, you know, how it was composed, but it's kind of making fun of her, which is a lot of what happens in the show.
She like literally sends herself into a panic attack. It's hilarious.
Yeah, she does. She sends herself in a panic attack. It's a gorgeous aria. It's amazing to sing. And she's just like, oh my God, I'm too sad. Like, I gotta die. The second aria is Una donna Quindiciani. Despina sings it, and she is a soprano. It's more on the lighter side. This isn't a heavy soprano role.
I sing this one.
I sing this one also. Or I did sing this. I frickin' love Despina. One of my favorite roles.
She's hilarious.
Yeah, she's so funny. She's the maid of the ladies. I didn't mention her yet. But so after the sisters have decided to let the foreign suitors, quote unquote, into their house, Despina sings this aria and she says, you know, a girl of 15 really should know how to flirt successfully and basically get her way with men whenever she wants. It's a little, you know, risque, but so is Despina.
And it's one of the few maid roles that's a soprano. Like, it's her and Susanna are the two soprano maid roles that, like, I know. Because usually maids are played by mezzos.
What I like also about Despina is she's like a free thinker.
She's also easily bribed and is, like, on Don Alfonso's side. Like, she's in it for the cash. She does not care.
Right?
She does not care about the well-being of her ladies. And it's hysterical.
She's not, like, a dainty female role, you know? She's like, okay, let's get it. Like, nah, like, flirt with men, get whatever you want. So
like, literally, who cares?
And the last aria that we highlight is Un Aura Amorosa. Ferrando, who is one of the suitors / boyfriends, is a tenor. Guglielmo, or how I like to pronounce
Guglielmo.
Yep. He complains of his hunger.
AKA lust.
Exactly. But Ferrando tells him that he should hold his appetite for women because even thinking of love that their fiance, you know, even thinking about how their fiancés love them should fulfill that hunger. Barf me up a tree. So those are 3 that you can check out from Così.
Next up is La Bohème. So the original language is Italian, composed by Giacomo Puccini, and the librettist was Luigi Illica and Giuseppe Giacosa. So basically, if you've seen the musical Rent, you know what's happening. Except This time, she stays dead at the end.
Yep.
So basically, these broke roommates, Marcello and Rodolfo, as well as Colline. Look, I don't feel like pronouncing things in Italian today. And Chonard are all living together, and they head over to Café Momus, which is like the local hotspot for broke artists. And then from there, the boys start bumping into these girls. No, that's not true. Jesus Christ. Look, this show is convoluted as hell. I hate this show. I've done it twice, and I never liked it. I do it when I get paid. But basically, Rodolfo falls in love with Mimi, who has tuberculosis, aka, not dysentery, what is it? What did they used to call it?
Yeah. Shit. What is it? You're right.
Something like exposure.
Just, consumption.
Consumption. So, she's got tuberculosis, aka consumption. Super fun. She's coughing up a lung, similar to me, except she has blood and I don't. So, Rodolfo falls in love with Mimi. Marcello's ex-girlfriend, Musetta, is... she is, in today's terms, a sugar baby or a wannabe sugar baby, but she loves Marcello, but they fight each other all the time because they don't want to love each other. She doesn't want to love him because he's broke, and he doesn't want to love her because she's really vapid. So time passes. Mimi and Rodolfo are still together, but he's not down to be with her because she's sick. So he leaves and they separate, and then all sorts of bad things happen. Blah, blah, moving on. They're all broke. And then even more time passes because, of course, it's 3 acts. And then Mimi is like actively dying. So she finds Musetta and Rodolfo and Marcello, and then they reminisce in their happy memories, and then she dies. The end. But she takes forever because she has to sing about it, and so does Rodolfo. So there's that.
She sings a lot of high notes.
She sings a lot of high notes as she's dying with tuberculosis, which is honestly, it's super realistic in
completely.
my personal opinion.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the first aria that we picked to highlight here is Vecchia Zimara Senti, which Colline sings, which is also known as the coat aria. So Colline is a bass, and This is one of the most famous bass arias out there for standard rep. After Mimi has collapsed towards the end of the opera, she's dying. She says that her hands are cold. In order to buy her something to keep her hands warm, Musetta pawns her jewelry, and Colline decides to pawn his old overcoat that he is super, super sentimentally attached to, but he cares more about her living than his coat, even though, you know, it's freezing and everyone dies of frostbite. Not really, but anyways. So this aria is his farewell to his coat because he doesn't have a love interest, so his love interest is his coat.
It's a beautiful aria.
It's absolutely stunning.
Aria.
I personally, I don't understand why Puccini wrote an entire aria saying goodbye to a coat.
I don't know. It was like, oh, Colline needs an aria.
Well, yeah,
aria.
like
Cool.
Colline needed an aria, and every bass I've ever heard do this is stunning.
Yep.
I get very confused by the plot lines.
Oh, so many weird plot lines.
Next up, we've got tenor Rodolfo's aria, Che gelida manina. And both Rodolfo and Mimi's candles go out. This is near the beginning of the opera. Mimi loses her key, but Rodolfo finds it and secretly puts it in his pocket because that's how you get a girl. He sings to Mimi of his dreams and ambitions and later tells her that he's fallen in love with her at the end of the aria. And then the last one that we chose from this show is, honestly, it's my favorite aria from the show because it's the only one that plot-wise to me makes sense. But it's Musetta's aria Quando men vo. So Musetta is a soprano, but she's not the dramatic soprano that Mimi is. Quando men vo can be sung by a lot of different soprano types. So here, everyone is at Café Momus. It's the start of Act 2. Everyone's having a great time until Musetta shows up with her sugar daddy and spots her on again, off again boyfriend, Marcello. So she is absolutely down. She wants to make him so jealous by flirting with every single person in the bar except for him. And he gets so mad. It's hilarious. But this is also this is her only aria. And she doesn't even get to sing the whole thing before she starts getting interrupted by the boys. And that makes me so mad. But basically, she's singing about how everyone always notices her beauty every single time she goes out. And oh my gosh, isn't it great to be bringing? I'm so pretty.
And it's not even just the boys. Like, the boys start interrupting her, but then, like,
and then
Mimi
the entire
sings,
chorus
like,
comes in.
basically aria. Yeah, and then, like, Mimi just starts singing an aria. It's like, okay, Mimi, we get it. Like you're the star of the show. Like, we get it. But
Musetta is definitely the comedic relief of
yes.
the two female leads, for sure.
It's a great role. Next, we have Carmen, which is one of my favorite standard operas. Its original language is French, composed by Bizet. This plotline is a little more straightforward. There's a lot that goes on, but I feel like it's a little more straightforward than some of these Mozart standard reps.
I feel like the French plots always tend to go a little bit more in a straight line.
Right? Yeah, there's not all these, like, side plots, but it takes place in Seville, Spain. Carmen is a cigarette factory worker. She is, a bad bitch, breaking out into fights and shit. Don José, he's a soldier. Since Carmen is a bad bitch, she kind of gets in trouble. José is tasked to guard her. She flirts with him, they kind of fall in love, and she's like, hey, you should, like, let me go. And he's like, okay. He goes to jail for that. A few months later, Carmen meets up with her friends Frasquita and Mercedes, and Don José gets out, and he comes and tries to find her and is like, hey, what's up? Escamillo, the bullfighter's in there. He flirts with Carmen. She's like, nah, I'm into Don José.
For now.
Yeah, for now, right? Don't give it away. Don José comes back, and he's like, hey, come with me. Carmen's like, no, ditch the army, come with me. And he's like, I don't know about that. He gets in a fight with some other soldiers, and then he kind of, has no choice. He's kind of a traitor now and has to go with Carmen and her friends to, deliver some loot.
And they're gypsies, right?
They are gypsies. I wasn't sure if that was a derogatory term, so I didn't put it in here.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot about the gypsy people, but it is super important to this plotline in my personal opinion, just because they typically lived a nomadic lifestyle. They still to this day live a nomadic lifestyle. There's a lot of controversy around this term. I haven't done enough research on it.
I agree. That's why I agree with you. It is a large part of this plotline, whether it is, being a little racially judgmental or not. I'm not sure. I have not done either that much research, but they are nomads.
They have been highly persecuted throughout history.
Yep, and in this plot, they are smugglers, they are stealing things.
And there's the stereotypes.
Party and drink a lot. Yeah, so I kind of just put her in here as a cigarette factory worker who, you know,
well, that was her job at the time.
Friends. Yeah, it was.
I think she
kind of
quit.
pops around. I think she's got in trouble, maybe got fired. Right? Okay, so Don Jose and Carmen and her friends have gone. Micaela, who is in love with Don Jose, she is from his hometown, is like, finds them. She like travels through the mountains trying to find Jose.
And he like broke it off?
I don't know. I
definitely paid attention the whole one time I saw this in person.
I have been Frasquita in this opera, and I don't know if they're engaged or not. Oh. But she's in love with him. I know that for sure. She's like, she definitely, oh my gosh.
Like, she talks about, like, she told her mom they were getting married. But I don't know if that was true or if she made it up.
Right?
So there's that.
In this whole opera. Micaela tells Jose that his mother's dying, and she's like, you need to come home. Jose loves his mom, so he's like, peace out, I gotta go. Goes off with Micaela. Don Jose leaves Carmen behind, and so Carmen's like, fine, F you. I'm gonna get with Escamillo now. And they're just like super in love. Some time passes. They're outside the bull ring. They're like, oh my God. Carmen and Escamillo are like, oh my God, we love you. Oh my God. Escamillo goes in to like, you know, do his bullfighting thing. Jose shows up, crazed, on one. He begs Carmen to start a new life with him. Love me, I love you. And she's like, oh my God, ew, I'm over you. And he stabs her and she dies.
And 98% of all murders are committed by men. I don't know if that's actually true, but it's definitely like over 90%. It might be 92%, but
definitely a crime of passion.
Don't kill people just because they don't want to date you.
And that's how the opera ends.
The end. More death.
Right.
I will say, if there's ever a show and the female character's first name is in it, she dies at the end. Every time.
Almost always. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Almost always. The first aria we're covering is the Toreador song, Votre Toast. Escamillo, the bullfighter, sings this. He's a baritone, and he just is going on and on about his success in the bull ring. It's a really fun opera. It's a really fun aria. Again, one that, you know, people like to interject in, but it's like, you know, fun party scene, like a kind of a fun comedic, not a fun like acting piece. It's really great.
A lot of companies, like across the world, not just opera companies, use this song in things like commercials, in their training videos. Like, it's everywhere. This song is such a bop. I love it.
I would say Carmen, just as a whole, has a lot of songs, clips, arias that we use, you know, in the media.
They're so easily recognizable because they're so ingrained in, like, the current psyche.
The next aria is the flower song, La Fleur, by Don José, which is the soldier. He's a tenor. Carmen and José reunite after he was in prison for releasing Carmen. He hears the soldiers calling him, and he's like, I gotta go. And she gets really mad at him for leaving her again. And he responds with this aria about the flower she threw at him while he was supposed to be watching her, and, you know, while he let her escape, and how he kept it with him while he was in prison, and how, you know, it means a lot to him, and, you know, blah, 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 barf, barf, barf.
I like how we're both in, like, super happy, loving relationships, and we're like, ew, gross.
I know. It's, a lot of these operas are dated, right? They're dated. This is not how we hope a lot of people's relationships go. The third aria is Carmen's Habanera. It is everywhere. This is probably the most recognizable aria out of the entire show. Carmen is a mezzo. This takes place at the beginning of the opera after she comes out of the cigarette factory for her break, and then gets in trouble for fighting, and José has to watch her. Carmen seductively sings about love and, you know, how unpredictable it is while she's trying to seduce José.
Next up is my absolute favorite opera of all time. I do not care that it is a basic bitch opera. This is it's the first full opera that I did. It was my first full role was Susanna from Le Nozze di Figaro. You know, just something small and easy. when you're 20 years old.
She's never on stage.
Never. Not only the 3 hours and 15 minutes of the 3.5-hour show, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's
so not
totally
long.
simple. So anyways, Le Nozze di Figaro, or The Marriage of Figaro, was composed by Mozart, originally in Italian. The librettist was Lorenzo da Ponte.
Almost always.
Da Ponte has so many things. So this is actually based on a trilogy that Da Ponte wrote. It is... So the prequel is what Barbara of Seville was based on. This is the second book. And then the third book is what... the third book is what The Ghosts of Versailles was written about. Mm-hmm. So if you want to watch like the plot move in order, so it goes Barbara of Seville, Nozze, Ghosts of Versailles. 3 different composers. Nothing is real. Everything is fine. This one was written first because, of course, it was. So Figaro and Susanna are the servants of the Count and Countess Almaviva, and it is their wedding day. So this entire opera is one day. It's just one day. So it's their entire wedding day.
So much going on.
There's so many characters and so many plots happening at the same time.
Way too much going on.
I'm just gonna highlight really quick. So it's their wedding day. Figaro gets mad because the Count is trying to get in Susanna's pants. The Countess is mad because the Count is ignoring her because he's a kind of a twat, even though he spent the entire first book seducing her, marrying her, and now he's just trying to sleep with everyone who's younger than him. So then the Count is flirting with Susanna, and Susanna's like, ew, no thank you. And then Rosina, the Countess, and Susanna make a plan to get back at the Count because he's being an asshole. And then Figaro tries to help, but honestly, he just makes everything worse because they didn't tell him the plan, or they did and he didn't listen. And he's like, I'm a boy, I can make it better. And then he does his thing and it makes it worse every time. And then Barbarina is there and she's with Cherubino, and Cherubino's in trouble for flirting with Barbarina because Barbarina and the Count are seeing each other on the DL. It's a lot. Oh, and then there's Marcellina and Bartolo. Yeah. And they're just a lot. Jezu. So Marcellina is mad at Figaro because she wanted to marry Figaro because he owes her a debt or something. She was supposed to. Yeah. He owes her a debt. That gets weird when Marcellina and Bartolo figured out, oh shit, that's our kid. So that's grosser. And then Marcellina and Bartolo are like, we're going to help you make the Count feel like an idiot. Here we are. And then at the end of the day, they get married in Act 3. Figaro gets mad again in Act 4, and Susanna sings, knowing full well that he's behind a bush because he's a guy and there's a bush on stage, and he's like, you can't see me behind bush. And she's over here going, I definitely see you, and you're being an idiot, so I'm going to make you feel like an idiot. I'm going to sing a song about you, but I'm not going to say your name, so you're going to think it's about someone else because you're being dumb. So, at the very end, they reveal to the Count that they have tricked him. Susanna and Rosina reveal themselves because they've switched places, and it's just all of this, ha ha ha, nothing happened, we're all fine. Literally nothing is real, and the whole household celebrates the wedding. Are you confused yet? I am. I've done this show twice. Anyways, jumping in. Up first, we've got Figaro's aria, Se vuol ballare. So Figaro is a bass baritone. I have heard bass baritones, and baritones sing this. As long as you have the range, go for it. Who cares? A lot of people care. Don't blame me for that. So he's angry at the Count for reclaiming the right to sleep with his servant, Susanna, on the night of her marriage, which is this old feudal law so that the lord of the land could sleep with a bride on her wedding night before her husband could, because
women are property.
It's disgusting and I hate it. And Figaro decides he'll pretend that he's okay with it while in reality he's planning to work against the Count and basically kick his butt. Next up, we've got Cherubino's aria. Cherubino is the Count's page who's getting in trouble for sleeping with Barbarina. Well, flirting with Barbarina. I don't know if they're actually sleeping together. It's confusing. So Cherubino is a mezzo-soprano, which is also a pants role. So it's a girl playing a boy. Or basically, it's a mezzo playing a boy character because Cherubino is supposed to be like all of 15 going through puberty. And this aria is Non so più cosa son, cosa faccio. After being fired as the Count's page for being discovered alone with the gardener's daughter, Barbarina, Cherubino tells Susanna that he's all excited by women. It's basically puberty in an aria.
That's why I love that aria.
It's so dumb, and I've seen it so many times, where he just gets himself all sort of flustered and goes, oh my god, girls. It's so funny. It's hysterical. So the last one that we actually chose is Barbarina's aria. So Barbarina is the gardener's daughter. She's a soprano, and it tends to be done a lot more by younger sopranos. Barbarina tends to lead into Susanna. It's not fully recommended that you just start with Susanna, but you know what? More is more. So Barbarina's aria is L'ho perduta me meschina, and Barbarina is absolutely terrified because Susanna, who is her cousin, gave her a pin to hold on to for her wedding, and she lost it. Which is not good, because that's the pin that she's sending the count to prove that it's Susanna, and it's supposed to be in her wedding something or another, and it's just a lot. So much happens. It's 4 hours. It's 4 hours.
I think Barbarina's aria is one of my favorites because she's so young and she's like freaking out about this little thing, and it's a really short aria, so like you said, it's a really good starter, like a good aria for younger for younger sopranos. But it's such a
fun acting challenge too, of just going, oh my god, I lost this, my cousin needed it for her wedding, I was in charge of one thing, and it's gone.
Yep, exactly.
And then Figaro comes in, finds it immediately, and she's on her way.
She's like, oh, okay, thanks.
She's like, oh yeah, okay, bye. And that's the whole 15 minutes that Susanna gets off stage. The end.
Right, exactly. The next aria we're covering is Tosca. The original language is Italian. It was composed by Puccini, and the librettist was Giuseppe Giacosa. This is a political opera. It takes place in Rome. So Scarpia, the corrupt chief of police, he is like super into Tosca, who is Rome's diva. He figures out Cavaradossi, who is a painter and is Tosca's lover, is helping a political prisoner. And he was just like, look, I want Tosca. He's doing something bad. This is my job. I'm going to kill two birds with one stone, and I'm going to put him into jail. Tosca kind of, unfortunately, helps with this accidentally. And he puts Cavaradossi in jail and now has Tosca kind of all to himself. Like, he's like win-win, right? Scarpia is super gross, and he tells... He's gross. He's just really gross. He's
you're not wrong.
Through and through. Yeah. He tells Tosca he will let her lover Cavaradossi go if she will be with him. She says okay, because she thinks that this is the only way that her lover won't get killed. So they kind of make this plan to stage the execution of Cavaradossi. It's like, okay, we're going to pretend to shoot him by a firing squad, but like he won't. We'll let him go, and then you'll be with me, and everything's great. Once that plan is in place, Tosca stabs Scarpia. She's like, F you. No, this is not happening. She goes to Cavaradossi and is like, look, okay, I just made this whole fucking plan. They're going to pretend to shoot you. Scarpia's dead, pretend and fall on the ground and like pretend you're dead, and then we're going to get out of here. Like, this whole plot takes place within 24 hours. Stuff is moving fast. So he's like, Cavaradossi's like, okay, great, sounds good. So the firing squad comes, they fire at him, he drops, they all go away, and Tosca goes up to Cavaradossi and is like, okay, cool, like, let's go. Like, get up now. It's time. And then she realizes that he is actually dead. I don't know what happened, if our wires got crossed, if somebody found Scarpia and was like, well, we're going to kill Cavaradossi anyway.
Or if Scarpia just like straight up lied.
Right? Like, who knows what happened? I think
is what happened.
But her lover is dead. She freaks out and throws herself off the building.
As you do.
Yeah, why not?
Super casual.
I've actually been to the place where it was inspired that Tosca threw herself off the building. It was really cool.
We also talked about this show and how it's like super, super haunted and like quote unquote the cursed play in our Halloween episode from last year. It was the opera superstitions. I don't remember which episode it was, but I'll link it in the show notes because holy shit, the drama.
It's a good one. Yeah. If you haven't listened to that one yet, definitely go back and listen to it after this episode. This episode.
This opera-sode.
This opera. See what you did there.
I'm sick. I'm tired. There are no good jokes.
I love it. This was the only contralto piece that I could find in all of the pieces that we highlight today.
Contraltos aren't really popular. Contraltos and countertenors are not popular in like super like heavily done things other than like the Old Maid. No, not the Old Maid and the Thief. No, it is the Old Maid and the Thief. And then there's also, what's the other one? The Medium. I found it.
Medium. Yep.
But the Medium and Old Maid and the Thief are the only like commonly done ones that I know of where there's like a highlighted contralto role. Like sometimes there's other contralto roles throughout, But as for commonly done things, contraltos are like not popular, which is super unfortunate because they're amazing.
Yeah, they cut out contraltos a lot in these standards.
And countertenors.
And countertenors. I don't have a single countertenor aria in these, but this is a very, very short aria. It's Lode Sospiri. It's done by the Shepherd Boy, and it's just a morning song of the Shepherd Boy. I really wanted to include it because it would be a really great either learning piece or first piece. A lot of the roles in Tosca are for heavy, heavy voices, older singers, more mature voices. So I really wanted to include this in here.
And it's hard to find lighter songs for contralto.
Exactly. Yeah, a contralto is more of a heavy voice, and so I wanted to include that one in there. The other two arias that I included are very, very popular. So the first one is Vici d'Arte, which is Tosca's aria. I'm sure you've heard of it, even if you think you haven't. It's very, very popular, and this is another one that is sometimes included in like commercials and popular media and stuff like that. Tosca is a soprano, like we said, a little bit more on the mature voice side.
Definitely dramatic soprano.
Yeah. In this aria, she is talking to Scarpia. He's kind of, he's coming on very strong to her and
he's gross.
Violating her. Yeah. So she's talking to Scarpia about the fate of Cavaradossi, her lover. Tosca sings of the two great driving forces in her life, which are love and music, because she is the diva. Beautiful, beautiful aria. The next aria is sung by Scarpia. He is a baritone, and that's Va Tosca, which is an absolute beautiful aria. It's absolutely my favorite from this show. It is very, very cool. If you haven't heard of it, again, this is one you probably have heard and you need to go check out because it's my favorite and I love it. This is at the beginning of the opera. Like I mentioned before, he's trying to put Tosca's lover, Cavaradossi, in jail. Tosca kind of helps him because Scarpia is making Tosca jealous and kind of pitting her against Cavaradossi. And so after Tosca is jealous and kind of betrays her lover, Scarpia kind of congratulates himself and is like, oh, go me. Let's, toast all my future successes. I am super great. I got the woman. I got the guy in jail. I'm the best.
Moral of the story, Scarpia's gross. And if your name is on the title and you're a female, you die.
And he's, yes.
Again.
Done.
So next up, we've got another Mozart for you. It's Magic Flute, or otherwise known as Die Zauberflöte. And if you couldn't tell from that, it is very German. So this is the last opera that Mozart wrote, and the librettist is Emanuel Schikaneder. And there's I have a lot of feelings about this opera. I actually wrote about this in a really shitty paper that I wrote in grad school that it's a lot. So this is Mozart's last opera that he wrote, and he actually used a different librettist than Da Ponte. They had like this whole big thing. The librettist wrote himself a character in the show because he wanted to play Papageno.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, fun fact that Alyssa knows because she wrote a really shittily researched paper and I got a C on it. And honestly, that was being nice.
Boo.
No, that paper was so unresearched. And it's mostly just me saying, hi, this show is dumb because there's no plot. Just put it in space like everyone else does. And who cares?
This show doesn't have a plot, but it does have some really good music.
So it starts in the middle of the action. Tamino, who's a prince lost in a foreign land, is being pursued by an enormous monster. Realistic. He's rescued by 3 mysterious ladies who kill the monster and give Tamino a picture of Tamina, who is the daughter of the Queen of the Night, and also the daughter of Zoroastro, who is the king of the sun, in my understanding. No one knows. Anyways, he falls in love with her. So they tell him that Pamina has been captured by a powerful and evil Zoroastro because the 3 ladies are actually working for the Queen of the Night. That's later. And Tamino vows to rescue her. So they give Tamino the gift of a magic flute. And then Papageno, who's a bird catcher who literally just stumbles in, is now along for the journey. He's got some magic bells. He talks too much. At some point, they make him shut up because he's just talking too much. And then Tamino sets off on his quest and eventually finds Pamina. And then most of them live happily ever after, except for the Queen of the Night.
Except for the Queen of the Night. Also, Mozart was a Freemason, and there's a lot of like number 3s, like 3 ladies, 3 quests, 3 this, 3 that, all over
It's just a
the
lot.
opera, and apparently 3 is a really big
And it's
number
also like in
the
E
Freemasons,
flat,
so.
which is like the key number 3. I don't know.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't think about that
Again,
either. But
poorly written
it's really cool.
paper.
But I think it's another like really cool, weird hidden thing about this opera.
There's still no plot. And the music is a lot. So, but I am going to flex my German on y'all. So we are starting with Papageno's aria, Der Vogelfänger bin ich ja. So we're at the top of the show. Papageno's introducing himself to Tamino. This is when he stumbles in after Tamino's like, oh my God, you've slayed the demon. And then the 3 ladies go, poof, goodbye. And so Papageno's introducing himself to Tamino and mentions he probably could catch women just as easily as he catches birds. And I think the funniest part of Papageno when it's designed this way is when he's talking about how well he catches birds and then he never catches a single bird. There's no birds in his bird cage that he's always carrying. They're like no birds. He's like, I'm so good at this. And everyone else is like, I don't think that means what you think it means.
Papageno is by far my favorite character in this entire opera.
I agree. I definitely agree. Papageno. Oh, and also just like the lush baritone voices that I've had the pleasure of listening to sing this. It's so much fun and it's such a funny character piece as well. I feel like a lot of times in like the more standard rep, at least opera, it's all of the baritones are like the bad guy and they're so serious. Next up, we've got Monostatos, who is, there is a lot of racial ickiness when it comes to Monostatos. It's just, I'm going to stick with the historical, this is what it is written as in opera history books. So it's written as a Moor in the service of Zoroastro. Basically, it is a slave, which is not great. And there's been a lot of controversy over this. There's been a lot of controversy over the blackface that used to be used in opera. Very glad to say that for the most part, that is not used now. And for the people that do, they tend to get a lot of flack for a good reason because it's not okay.
Yep.
It's not okay. Off of my soapbox. Monostatos is a high tenor role, and this aria is Alles füllt der Liebe Freuden. And in this, Monostatos is talking to Pamina, who's in her room, and so she's, hold on. This is a lot. So Monostatos works for Zoroastro, the Sun King, and he sneaks into Pamina's room while she's sleeping, and wishes that he could be with her, more and then decides that he's going to kiss her, and if anyone has a problem with that, they don't gotta watch. And it's gross. It's gross.
It's so gross. He's always kind of like a creepy, slimy kind of character.
Yeah.
In the newer, I've never seen a performance of the Magic Flute where they use Monostatos' blackface, thank God. But
Same.
they always make him more of just kind of like a creepy, slimy kind of character. And the last time I saw it, it was ugh.
I usually see him as like the comedic Disney villain, like creepy character.
Yes, Disney villain is a great way to put it.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's still gross.
He is crossing some boundaries that definitely do not need to be crossed and
Correct.
should not be crossed.
Correct. And lastly, for this opera, Ellen decided to pick the aria that gives me the most anxiety, which is Der Höllerrache kocht in meinem Herzen, otherwise known as the Queen of the Night aria. It's one of 2. Her other one goes just as high, but it's not the dun dun bum 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 bum, because I can't sing right now, so that's as high as I'm going. So obviously she's a soprano, she's a coloratura soprano, and not only that, she's a dramatic coloratura soprano, so she's pissed. I will say, one of the things I like about her is she's the high soprano, and she's not playing like, I'm a Disney princess. She's like, I am pissed off. Do this or else.
She's not like a fairy or anything like that. Like,
which
she's
is lovely.
Villainy kind of character.
Exactly. Sopranos never get to play the villain, so this is one of them.
I know, never.
So she's in Pamina's room, and she's her mom, so she's giving Pamina a knife and tells her to go kill Zoroastro and get the shield of the sun back from him. I don't really understand. It's kind of all just like scenes pieced together, and you can kind of, for me, story-wise, you can see how sick Mozart was. He was just like very, very ill at the end of his life. There's thoughts that he might have had syphilis, and that causes holes in your brain, which is just fun. And I can kind of see how that became this.
Right.
And that's Magic Flute. The end.
Shocking. We're going to cover another Mozart da Ponte opera. So, composed by Mozart, the librettist is da Ponte, was Don Giovanni. The original language is in Italian.
And half of the music is from Nozze, including the overture. He just reused his music.
A lot of older operas are kind of like this. You know what I mean?
Ain't broke. Don't
just gonna
fix
borrow
it.
from here, borrow from here. That's cool. Yeah, this story we'll use 3 times. I like these characters. No big deal. Anyway, this opera starts off with Don Giovanni. He is a player, and he's gross, and he's a womanizer and a user.
And a baritone.
Right? And a baritone. He sneaks into Donna Anna's room. Sometimes when they do this show, he just sneaks into her room. Sometimes he assaults her. There is a wide range of things that the director likes to interpret here. But what he always does is kills her dad, the commendatore, and then they leave. Him and his servant Leporello leave. So that's just, a fun, great start. Donna Anna asks her fiancé Don Ottavio to avenge her father's death. That plot line continues throughout the whole opera. Donna Elvira shows up. She's a woman that Don Giovanni betrays. Sometimes they portray her as pregnant with Don Giovanni's child. Sometimes she's just somebody that he burned.
Jilted lover.
Yeah, exactly. She is devastated. She's depressed. Another storyline that goes on is Mazzetto and Zerlina. Zerlina, they're about to get married. Giovanni is like, hey, she's about to get married. No way. I'm going to flirt with her, saying, you deserve a better life. Come with me. Giovanni invites all of them and the entire wedding party to his house for a party. Donna Anna recognizes that it's her father's killer, Don Giovanni, and they all attend. There's some switching. Giovanni and Leporello switch, try to deceive the women.
Similar to Cozy.
Right? Very
Again,
similar
ain't broke,
plotline.
don't fix it.
Everyone tries to kill Don Giovanni, which is really Leporello, and then he escapes and runs away. Cut to another scene. They're in a cemetery. Giovanni and Leporello meet the statue of the Commendatore. They're like singing and kind of boasting or at least Giovanni is in the cemetery. The Commendatore, which is a ghost, warns Giovanni, and Giovanni's like, screw you, you're dead, this isn't real. Like, Leporello, come on, invite the ghost to dinner. Like, this isn't gonna happen, this isn't real.
Ha ha ha. Ghosts aren't real.
Right? The statue or the ghost of the Commendatore accepts. The statue/ghost of the Commendatore comes to dinner. He says, you need to repent all your sins. And Don Giovanni is like, fuck you, I do not care. I'm going to keep doing what I want to do. And he gets dragged to hell. And everyone lives happily ever after.
Bye. I will say, Giovanni getting dragged to hell is I've seen some really iconic versions of it. I think it was the Met version where literally active fire on stage and then he like the stage drops out and he like slowly falls as he's singing, as you do, because that's how people die. You must sing a 5-minute aria first and then he falls.
Always, yeah.
It's iconic. I love that aria.
It is so good. And it's like very satisfying that it gets dragged to hell. It's like, oh, you don't
yeah, it's one of the few times
bye.
that the bad guy gets what's coming.
What he deserves. Yeah, it's really good. I love this opera. I think it's a really, really fun one. One of my favorite arias from this opera is sung by Leporello. He is a bass. It's Madamina. After Donna Elvira confronts Don Giovanni of his betrayal, and she's like, what the fuck, basically, Leporello tells her that she should just forget him and move on. Look at this book of all the girls Giovanni has pursued. Just to give you a tally, it's 640 women in Italy, 231 in Germany, 100 in France, 91 in Turkey, and 1,003 in Spain. So definitely a womanizer. It's a really fun aria.
It's a patter aria. It's so fun.
It's also like a character role where you really can shine and really play with the character. So definitely have fun with it.
I think my favorite part about Leporello is just the pure... It's a diva role. And it's hysterical. Like, just watching Leporello just like steal the stage as the comedic relief, because it's a dark show otherwise. But he's just like, and this, look at how fast I can talk, da-da-da-da-da, and it's hysterical.
It's one of the best. The next fun aria is sung by Don Giovanni, who is also a baritone, Fin can dal vino. This takes place at Giovanni's party. He declares that it's going to be the best party, and it's going to have a lot of booze and a lot of women, you know, sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Just like The Great Gatsby.
Right? It is another fun aria that is done a lot and kind of gets to show off some of your regal character vibes, right? My favorite female aria from this show is sung by Donna Elvira. She is a soprano. Again, this is more on the spinto side, at least dramatic. This is not for younger sopranos. A fuggi il traditor. Basically, what's going on here is Don Giovanni is trying to seduce Zerlina. Zerlina is definitely falling for it, although, you know, she's married.
She's like all of 18, and she's like, you're pretty and you're giving me attention and you have a lot of money. Like,
exactly.
She's 18.
She's like, oh, okay, let's go. And Donna Elvira says, nope. She kind of gets in the middle. She goes, this man is a traitor. Get away from him. She just butts herself right in and is like, nope, we're not doing this. This is a very short aria, but there's a lot going on in it.
It's a hard sing.
Beautiful, very hard sing. I think it's only like 3 pages, but it's really, really fun. Kind of like a freak out moment, diva moment. It's really cool.
It's a steal the stage moment. Oh, it's so good.
Hell yeah.
So the super fun part about this rep series that we made is we made an entire Spotify playlist just for all of the songs that we're talking about. So this week you can find all of these songs on there. And then don't forget to join us next time for the next installment of our rep series, where we will be covering all things musical theater, and I am stoked.
Thank you for listening. Want to hear more from us? Sign up for our newsletter to gain access to our freebies and other updates.
Ellen and I want to make sure that we can keep getting new information out to our singing community, but to do that, we need your help. If you like what you're hearing, make sure to subscribe wherever you listen. This helps us make sure that you never miss an episode, and if you really liked it, you can also share this episode with a friend so that we can start reaching more of our singing community.
Are you looking for the resources we mentioned today? Check out our show notes to see everything we mentioned in the episode.
And if you want to buy us a coffee to enjoy while we're creating these episodes, you can drop us a tip wherever you follow us.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye. Oh, my poor voice. Oh, my poor voice.